A hallmark of the Oliver Corporation's progress in the 1960s was the development and implementation of the Growing O shows that took place from 1963 to 1967. Profits and progress were positive in the early 1960s, and Oliver wanted to capitalize on their increased sales and improved products by demonstrating Oliver power to dealers and farmers. The Growing O shows were put on all over the country to introduce new Oliver products to the masses. These shows involved management from both the Charles City Oliver factory and the Oliver corporate office, which was in Chicago at the time. At these shows, helping develop the ideas to increase Oliver's dominance in the agricultural market, were various top management officials, including Sam White Jr., the Oliver Corporation's president. The first Growing O show, referred to in the Charles City Press as the More from the Growing O show, was in 1963. The tour began in Minneapolis in November. According to the caption of a photo published in the press, the caravan would travel over 5,000 miles to show Oliver products to dealers. Eugene Keene was one of the Growing O show personnel from the Charles City factory. He was the sales supervisor there in the 1960s.
We started out at Minneapolis. If the thing didn't work, the show didn't work, the engineers or somebody would fly up overnight with Norm Bailey and how are we going to make this thing work? And,
kind of like starting off Broadway.
Yep. So Warren Transport furnished the 7 trailers and the drivers. And the drivers, after a show, we, like a circus, would load the equipment up, tie it down. This would be at the show ran from like 10 in the morning till, maybe 3, 4 o'clock. They would then take off to the next Growing O site, maybe from Minneapolis to Omaha. We would get that night off, and usually the branch would have a little party for us. The next day, we would get up, about 10 o'clock, we would fly to the next site. We'd go out to the field, because we had never seen it. We'd inspect it and get with the branch people, and they had the tent and everything set up and the food, and Ed Cruz in charge. We would review everything, and then the next day, we would set up, work all day, and the next day we had the show, we tear down and just keep doing it. We'd be gone about 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and then they let us come home for a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then we'd head out again.
It really was like a circus, wasn't it?
It was. I was as tan as this tabletop from being in the field, and I could chain and bolt those tractors down and nail the wood blocks behind them, just jump on the trailer. We all, and you know, that's something. We were all young. Everybody cooperated, and I never worked with a finer group of people. I really didn't. I have very fond memories of that.
In 1964, the Growing O show visited 8 large cities between August 9th and 15th. That year, the Oliver 1650 and 1850 tractors were unveiled under the big top. Along with this introduction, Oliver also introduced the certified horsepower gimmick that made their products trustworthy. The certified horsepower sticker guaranteed the tractor had been dynamometer tested. At each show, the assemblies were separated into 4 different groups. One stayed under the big top, and the other 3 were transported via White Motor Corporation trucks to spots for field demonstrations. These demonstrations contrasted Oliver machinery against its competition to prove that Oliver was the best. These would last about an hour, and then the group would be rotated to the next station. Oliver personnel and management hit the road again in 1965, that time visiting 11 states in 8 weeks and ending the tour in Bakersfield, California. 1966 revised the Growing O show format so that rather than have Oliver Corporation employees and products tour the country visiting dealers, the dealers were flown to northeastern Iowa to tour the Oliver factory in Charles City. 2,500 dealers were flown into Mason City, about 30 miles west of Charles City, where they spent one night. Then, during the show, they were bussed back and forth between the 2 towns. During these tours, dealers could see new product demonstrations and hear updates from Oliver Corporation management. In total, the show lasted 6 days, during which every other day a new group of dealers was flown in for a 2-day show. These Growing O shows were an opportunity for dealers to improve their sales pitches.
The idea behind it, Oliver was a heavy tractor, a base tractor, compared to the John Deere was the light tractor, and the International was a medium weight. So weight per horsepower, the heavy grills and the bathtub frame and that, we could utilize more of the engine's horsepower without adding front end weights, wheel weights, or fluid to the tires. And at these Grow and O shows, we had signs on each tractor showing the base price, what was added, and then when we did the demonstration, we had a dealer come down and count the slippage, you know, and the amount of fuel used, and then we made little books for each dealer, and they had it, and then I was on a forklift about 8 feet high, and Paul Pellner had made some 40 by 60 charts like were in the book. I would speak and write in the results. The dealers would then do theirs and take it home and use it as a sales pitch. You know, somebody come in and said, well, what about John Deere? And they had I was to this test, and this is the results.
In 1967, the Growing O visited 9 cities in 5 weeks in July and August. The Oliver 1550 tractor, 6342 two-way rollover plow, and 352 disc harrow were some of the equipment unveiled. The Oliver factory in Charles City was impacted by the tornado on May 15, 1968, which might have contributed to the change of plans for that year's tractor demonstrations. Furthermore, Sam White Jr., who had been so important for the development of these shows, was promoted from the president of the Oliver Corporation to oversight of all White farm equipment brands, which included Oliver, Minneapolis Moline, and Cockshut. White's promotion took him away from exclusively promoting the Oliver brand, and his replacement, Jim Wormley, apparently was not as interested in the Growing O shows. And so, the Growing O shows ended in conjunction with the golden age of Oliver, as 1969 and the following years saw more restructuring of the White Motor Corporation's departments, and by 1975, the Oliver brand would be completely phased out, replaced with the White brand.